Now at noon, awaiting a verdict. Jury deliberation is now underway in former President Donald Trump's hush money trial. Thanks for joining us for the KTLA 5 News at Noon. I'm Glenn Walker.
And I'm Sandra Mitchell. And today for Lou Parker, 12 New Yorkers now will decide if Trump is guilty on any of the 34 felony charges of falsifying business records in the lead up to the 2016 presidential election.
KTLA 5's Lauren Lister joining us now live in the newsroom with the latest. Lauren?
Glenn and Lou, I have some new analysis at this hour as the jury of 7 men and 5 women deliberate. Now for 3.5 hours they've been deliberating. They'll decide the former president's fate in this criminal hush money trial. Trump is required to stay at the courthouse the entire time they deliberate, by the way. Here was the presumptive GOP presidential nominee leaving Trump Tower this morning to head to the court building downtown. He and his lawyers then seen walking into the courtroom a short time later. Trump didn't say anything to reporters in those moments in the hallway, but he did raise his fist and wave. After the judge gave the jury instructions and Trump left the courtroom, he blasted the judge and the charges he faces.
Mother Teresa could not beat these charges. These charges are rigged. The whole thing is rigged. The whole country's a mess between the borders and fake elections, and you have a trial like this.
Before that, in court, the judge giving jurors instructions, telling them it is not my responsibility to judge the evidence here. It is yours. You are the judges of the facts, and you are responsible for deciding whether the defendant is guilty or not guilty. You must put aside any personal opinions you have in favor of or against the defendant. Some of the other instructions to jurors include they must not make a decision based on biases or stereotypes. They must not speculate on how long sentencing may be or what the punishment might be. That's up to the judge. They can't hold it against Trump for not testifying in his trial. The people must prove beyond a reasonable doubt every element of the crime. That's on the prosecution to prove. They must surrender their phones, the jurors that is, and they can only discuss the case when all are together. A former prosecutor, federal prosecutor, saying here's what likely happened when they went and began to deliberate.
In the deliberation room, the 12 jurors are going to start by taking a poll and seeing if they can reach a decision quickly. That's going to be difficult in a case like this because we're dealing with convoluted legal arguments and probably the most politicized trial in American history. There's also a cast of characters who testified.
That included adult film star Stormy Daniels and the prosecution's star witness Michael Cohen, who that federal prosecutor pointed out is an admitted liar and convicted felon. Now, Trump faces 34 felony counts of falsifying business records related to $130,000 in hush money payments made to Stormy Daniels in the lead up to the election. For Trump to be guilty of a felony charge, jurors must find that he falsified records with intent to commit or conceal another crime. Prosecutors allege that crime was trying to influence the 2016 election. Now, the prosecution's case greatly hinges on the testimony of former Trump lawyer and fixer Michael Cohen. During the trial, he testified that Trump directed him to pay off Daniels, who said that she had a sexual encounter with Trump. Trump's attorneys say Cohen is a liar. The prosecution says other evidence corroborates his account. Trump has pleaded not guilty. He denies any affair with Stormy Daniels. Now, the jury must be unanimous in their decision. They can ask questions about the case through handwritten notes as they deliberate. We don't know how long they will deliberate. If convicted, Trump could face prison time, but the former federal prosecutor I spoke to says he believes he would more likely be sentenced to probation. That's the latest live in the newsroom. Glenn, back to you.
All right, Lauren Lister, thank you. Disgraced former film producer Harvey Weinstein is expected to appear before a judge today in the same lower Manhattan courthouse as the Trump trial. However, it is very unlikely that they will run into each other as Weinstein's trial is on a different floor. Weinstein is back in court awaiting a retrial on rape charges after his 2020 rape conviction was overturned. After that, he's due to serve a 16-year sentence for a 2022 rape conviction here in California.
And a hearing in the Scott Peterson murder case is underway in Northern California right now. Peterson is appearing via video feed from Mule Creek State Prison. The judge is hearing arguments over DNA evidence. Peterson's defense, the Los Angeles Innocence Project, wants access to DNA evidence they say could prove he did not murder his pregnant wife, Lacey, 22 years ago. They want to test 17 items, including a rope and a stolen van burned near their home. The Stanislaus County DA's office says they have no legal obligation to hand that DNA evidence